You know, I was in such denial I couldn't even say the word bulimia because I felt like that was disgusting to say. This is something that I've kept private for and hid from almost everybody in my life. Knowing that I broke free from this is bigger than any tournament win or match win or ranking result or anything. Like, that is what I'm most proud of. I'm Amanda Sobhy. I'm the current US #1 and world #3. And I am here to talk about my 10-year struggle with binge eating, bulimia, and disordered eating. And this is something that I've kept private for and hid from almost everybody in my life. And I am about almost 1 year fully recovered from my last binge and purge, and I have gotten to a place in my life where I'm ready to share my story. Okay, so I guess we'll start from the beginning. I would say I struggled from about my late teens, 17, 18, till about 27, and for the longest time I was in denial about it. I kept it private. I was terrified of having anyone find out about this secret. It was all throughout my college years and heavily into my first few years on tour, and I was so ashamed of the fact that I struggled with this. I was terrified of people finding out and judging me. I was so guilty that I went through this, and I hated myself. I just hated my body. I hated the fact that I was completely controlled by this disorder. Everything revolved around food, around body image, around just like weight and all of that, and I struggled. So I struggled privately, and I felt so alone in this. I just was so ashamed and disgusted and just didn't want anyone to know, and I didn't know how to tell anybody. I didn't know what to do, and so I hid it. It was something that it was a secret that I just buried down and didn't tell anybody. And it just completely controlled my life. So it was really tough for me, especially when I was playing on tour. I think the biggest thing was that I just felt so alone and so isolated in it all. And I felt like I had no one to talk to. No one would understand what I was going through. I was going to be judged. People were going to look at me in disgust about how you could eat that much, and then force yourself to purge afterwards. And you know, I didn't tell my family. Couldn't tell my close friends. I was also in denial about it too. I never fully accepted that, hey, this is a problem, because I wasn't doing it every day. And you know, people with eating disorders, they look sick, and I still looked healthy. You know, I still looked athletic. I still was strong, but on the inside I was doing so much damage to my body. So much damage, and it sucked because I just didn't know what to do, and as a result of it, it gave me horrible anxiety. I went through bouts of depression. I had terrible social anxiety around going out, anxiety around food, going out in groups to parties, like going out to eat, everything. And you know, I couldn't enjoy any of that because I was so obsessed with, what am I gonna eat? Oh my God, I'm off my diet plan that I'm doing it. Oh my God, I ate too much, I feel disgusting. Oh my God, I feel sick, I need to now go purge, but I'm with people, so I can't do it. And it was just all of those thoughts that completely consumed my life for so long. It wasn't, I would say it wasn't until the first person that I actually like told properly and started to address these issues was my mental coach, Amy Gross, who I started working with my first year on tour, because the tour life was a massive trigger for me, with the isolation of being alone at tournaments a lot of times, the highs and lows of the emotion, the feeling of letting everybody down after a loss, the pressure and expectation that I put on myself and not living up to it, and feeling that I'm letting down the squash world, especially in the US, by losing and not winning events. And so as a result, because I was alone, as a result, I coped with food. And then the feelings associated with that, I couldn't enjoy life because I lost, and I felt like I had to punish myself for that. And I couldn't be happy. And so I'd go through that cycle, and I would hate myself for it, and then, I would go through a binge phase, and then afterwards I would say, okay, now time to restrict. You have to make up for all the food that you ate. So now you have to over-exercise, you have to restrict. And so I would be on this vicious cycle of just going from binging, purging, and then restricting, over-exercising, like trying to be on whatever diet plan that I was on, only for it to fail, because that's not sustainable at all. And then the next binge would happen, and then we would just keep going around and around. When I started working with Amy, we had to address a lot of things off court before that were affecting my on court performance. And a big thing was, one, my eating disorder, which, I was in such denial I couldn't even say the word bulimia, because I felt like that was disgusting to say. And also then, if I said it, that meant that I was actually bulimic, which I refused to acknowledge. And so I was still in the denial phase, but we addressed it on the habits that I had post-tournaments and trying to replace those toxic behaviors with healthier habits, first off, and then also reframing my black and white thinking. So I wasn't all or nothing, where it was like, I have to follow this diet plan or this training schedule, and if I didn't, I was a failure. And then because I didn't do it, might as well just throw in the towel and completely go the opposite end. So it was a lot of thought patterns that that basically I was brought up thinking that I had to unlearn, and then I had to retrain my body and my mind with healthier habits and healthier thoughts. And that took time, that took years, but it was getting better. It was starting to I was starting to replace poor eating behaviors after tournaments with, a bit more mindfulness. So now I was learning to journal after tournaments and after losses, my immediate reactions, instead of just going straight for food. And I was thinking a bit more about my just overall well-being, and being a bit more conscious, knowing that, okay, I don't feel great. I know that if I overeat, it's gonna make me feel worse. And I like to actually feel good, as easy as that sounds. This wasn't an overnight thing, this actually terrified me. But it was something, just knowing the scientific aspect of how good food is for you as an athlete and how necessary it is. I wasn't afraid of eating it, but that has also taken a lot of time. And she's someone else that I could never tell, that I never told really that, hey, I struggle with binging and purging a lot. The binging part is easier to tell people because as athletes, a lot of athletes binge, but the purging part, not that many athletes do, or if they do, they don't talk about it. So I still felt very alone in that aspect, and I was still terrified to tell people, but she picked up on it, and she helped me a ton, just viewing food and loving food and enjoying it, and nourishing my body with food. So that was, I would say, it's been a whole process, and over time, between the mindfulness techniques of journaling, meditating, breathing, the understanding of food and fueling my body for performance and eating to feel good, and enjoying food and being fully present instead of, you know, when I would be on binges, I would basically go on autopilot, and it would just be like, if I would black out and not know anything that was happening, and I could like see myself, but I couldn't actually stop myself. So I would just go eat until the point of I would just feel absolutely sick to my stomach. And that's a horrible feeling. But over the years, it got better. Once I started to actually also address it and say, hey, this is a problem, and I want to break free from it, because for the longest time I felt like I would never be able to break free from it, that this was something that was going to be a part of my life forever, and I was just gonna have to manage it, and that sucked. That sucked. And just feeling that way, and just feeling so alone that whole time, and just thinking that I'm never ever gonna be able to enjoy life because I'm just gonna have this freaking ankle weight shackled to me that I just have to like always carry around.
Yeah.
But it did get better. It got a lot better, and it wasn't until COVID hit, when I had time and I was in one place and I wasn't traveling. I didn't have any expectations of results or tournaments or nothing, and I could fully like address this. And I told myself, I was like, this is going to be the year that I'm breaking free from it. Once I did get to that place, and once I got to that place of actually like loving myself for who I am, loving my body for the things that it can do, and it's reframing the perspective. Instead of beating myself up and hating my body for how it looks, it's celebrating it and loving it, and that made me so much happier. And you know, this whole year, which kind of makes me laugh, like this is the happiest I've been, and it's the best I've played squash, the healthiest I've been, you know, the best people say that I've looked, the fittest I've been, and I've been hearing the comments all year about it, and I just want to tell them it's because I broke free. Like, I don't have an eating disorder. I'm not hiding this secret anymore. You know, I can actually enjoy my life freely, and it's the best feeling ever. Main reason why I'm here sharing my story is not only to kind of shed the last bit of weight and power that this has over me, but also because I know that I'm not the only one who struggles with it. And by talking about it, I've actually found out that a lot of people have struggled with it for a period of time, however long or little the magnitude or scale that they did, but a lot of people struggled with some form of eating disorder, disordered eating, body image issues, and that got me thinking, why are we not talking about this more? We need to speak up about this and normalize these conversations, and that's why I'm sharing my story now, because I know that there are others struggling, And I don't want people to feel so alone in it and think that they're the only ones who are struggling. And I'm hoping that by me sharing my story, it's going to inspire someone else to want to speak up and talk about their story, or take that first step into recovery and wanting to break free from that cycle. So I'd say that's kind of my biggest impact that I want to make, because I know that I've finally broken free from it. I have finally broken free from something that I thought was going to be a part of my life forever. And that, knowing that I broke free from this, is bigger than any fucking tournament win or match win or ranking result or anything. Like, that is what I'm most proud of. And being able to sit here and share it now means more to me than anything. And I don't want anybody to have to go through what I went through and to struggle in private and in silence and feel like they're alone in this. And to think that they'll never be able to break free from it as well. Because it's possible. And, you know, I just want more people to know that they're not alone in this. And that's the reason why I'm here sharing it.